Oh my gosh, can you believe it? We're already in August. August is such a great month, especially for education. People are ready to learn, people are ready to go back to school. And you know what? Our brains are just ready to receive things. So I'm really excited that Chip and Cindy are here, or Cindy and Chip, however you all know them. So I'm going to continue to admit people in here. We are going to have a huge crowd today. I know we are. So I want to introduce you to a wonderful power couple in the wellness, or if I can dare say, the natural wellness industry, which is super nice. In this day and age, we can also think outside the prescription bottle. So in today's discussion, you're going to hear from Neighborly Wellness and True Medics owners. This is Chip and Cindy. They know a ton of stuff. They're going to be talking about some gut health. So you all take a listen. And at the end, they are going to give you all an opportunity to ask questions. You know what? Make them hard, make them easy. But just remember, they're not here to diagnose or treat. All right, you all enjoy. Take it away. Thank you.
Hi, Connie. Thank you for that lovely introduction. And hello, everyone. Chip and I are very excited to present to you today. And this has been a 10-year journey of discovery. And so, what we've learned over the last 10 years is what we're going to present to you today. And normally, I say from parasites to patents, here's our 10-year journey, but this is a different presentation. And so, today it's going to be hidden threats to women's health. And this is what we see every day. But our mission is really to educate and inform. We are Chip and Cindy, Neighborly Wellness, True Medics, and we have a podcast called Chip Talks Health, where Chip really highlights, different things that we're all worried about in our health that we're not getting answers from in our medical system. So we talk about things that your doctor really does not. And so here we go. What we see every day, I want Chip to kind of highlight what he sees because he's the one that's directly performing all of these scans. And from these scans, we have helped a lot of women discover their wellness journey. And their wellness journey can be from gut health, hormone health, to several other modalities of dysregulation. So, Chip, would you like to highlight what you see every day and let women know why this is so vital for them to know about?
Yeah, absolutely. So, hello everybody. I'm Chip, and I work with Cindy. Do Cindy's bidding most of the time. And glad to be talking to you guys today. So, in our world, just for a little bit of background, I'm a researcher. I research something called the endocannabinoid system. I'm thought to be top five in the world on that system. That system is our master regulatory system. And so it's pretty easy if you understand the master regulatory system to begin to get a different view of the human body and a little different view of human function. So we use those lenses and those eyes to really dissect you in a little different way and look at your function in a little different way than the medical system does. And what I mean by that is God is a perfect engineer, if you will. You make perfect cells. So as you're rebuilding and regenerating yourself, and everybody does every 7 to 10 years, you're regenerating yourself perfectly. However, there's a lot of things that can happen to those cells as you're regenerating them. And one of the big things that happens is infection. And so we view most disease and most dysregulation, including hormones and things like that, as some consequence of infection. Our bodies are really good at controlling things. Our bodies are really good at keeping a tight rein on things. But when we're infected, they're not. And infection causes all kinds of dysregulation and change. So we use an instrument called bioresonance. It's not a diagnostic, it is a information tool. But those are the pictures that you're seeing are from a scan that we've done. And I think this is actually Cindy's scan,
Mhm.
but a scan that we've done on someone like Cindy. But you'll see an infection and you'll see a lot of symptoms. So gastritis is a symptom, but you'll see a bug in there called Heliobacter pylori. And he's a very serious bug that we see in a lot of people. But again, this is kind of common, and we'll see some infection in everyone that we scan.
Yep. Thank you, Chip. And so parasites and H. pylori can really cause a lot of hormonal disruptions, and we need our hormones to manage our body. And so that's been a big factor for a lot of women that come through here is they do have the infections, but they also have a lot of hormone imbalances. And so what can we do to kind of help them naturally regulate that side of their body? They've first we got to attack the infection, so that's number one. And the infection can really cause a lot of nutrient depletion, not only the hormone and nutrients, but also cognitive. So women, we kind of go up and down sometimes in our mood, and so this could be a contributing factor that gets ignored by the medical system. And Chip, do you want to touch on this slide a little bit too, please?
Yeah, so pylori is one of the biggest things that we see in people. We see pylori in probably 80% of the people that we scan. He's by far and away the most dangerous thing that we see. He's a cancer causer. He's responsible for pancreatic cancer, stomach cancer, colon cancer, many, many different types of gut cancers. And he causes so many symptoms. So he can cause, and the reason for, let's say, the hormone disruption has to do with the local environment. So these guys, these bugs that invade us have to be sophisticated enough to beat our immune system. Our immune system is super robust and super sophisticated. We've got a way to kill things, we've got a way to antibody things, we've got all these different mechanisms. So, in order for something like H. pylori to infect you and beat your immune system, it has to disrupt hormones in its local environment. And because hormones are how you basically build the immune mediators you need to do stuff. So if I can disrupt that hormone environment, I'm going to disrupt the immune environment. And that's exactly what happens with H. pylori. So, low T can be caused by H. pylori. Estrogen dominance can be caused by H. pylori. High blood pressure due to aldosterone dysregulation can be caused by H. pylori. So this guy can cause a ton of different symptoms.
It can, and we actually have a case with a local lady, and she's been having trouble getting pregnant. And so we worked with her. She had infection, she had some issues going on within her endocannabinoid system. And once we discovered what was going on, she's been going through fertility treatments, and they're starting to finally work. So those fertility treatments are very expensive, and she's struggled with getting pregnant, but we were able to intervene, and now her eggs were able to kind of stick to that uterus, and now she's, I think, 10 weeks pregnant now. So we're very excited by that, and so I've got a baby shower that I'll be going to soon. But that's
And
a, oh, go ahead, Chip.
oh, I was just going to say, and like for your men, let's say the men in your life, if a man has low testosterone, okay, that means that they're infected with something. A man, as long as a man has gonads, he will continue to produce testosterone. If that testosterone is not in the blood, then that means something is hijacking that testosterone. And a strategy by some of these guys that will infect you is to basically convert your testosterone to estrogen because testosterone is more anti-pathogenic than estrogen is. It can kill them. So they want to convert testosterone to estrogen. And that happens a lot. Again, all of our hormones should be very tightly regulated. And if we're off, it means something. It means something. So
Yeah, and I can speak to that just through my own journey. And this is how we really kind of discovered bioresonance and then transitioned into being Neighborly Wellness Clinic, was trying to understand my own health journey. I back in 2020, so Chip and I, we were trying to understand why I was so unhealthy just in my gut. I couldn't hardly eat anything. Had no energy. I actually, when I was 25 years old, I actually bought myself some breast implants. And so I was thinking maybe at 20, when it was 2020, maybe I was having some breast implant illness. And so I went down that whole scary path and had a really good friend in the Tulsa area that was going down a similar path. She went all the way to the extreme. She had her breast removed and she's still severely sick. And so I saw that journey she went through, and I went to Chip and I said, "Well, I really don't want to remove my breasts if I don't have to. And I want to understand what's going on inside my body." And so he did some research and discovered the bioresonance machine, and we got one and really dove into it and learned that I had Epstein-Barr virus, H. pylori, I had all the hook, round, and pinworms, a lot of hormonal disruptions. And so this is why I did not feel good. And so once we understood what my problems were, we were able to intervene and attack the problem naturally with diet, supplements, and a few other things. But I'm now feeling better, but it was a long journey. This was not an overnight fix for me. I have been on this journey for almost 6 years now. I intermittent fast. I have reduced a lot of the food that I do eat. So just the food intolerances that I have now have not gone away. And so I can't go back to that behavior I had prior to learning what was going on inside of me. So I really had to change my life in order to get my health back. And Chip can speak on that a little bit more scientifically, but right now I am on a daily management of supplements and dietary. If I venture out of my diet or if I don't take my supplements, I do not feel my best. And so, Chip, can you touch on that just a little bit?
Yeah, so again, this is a journey. We're still, learning a lot of things, and it's like we're starting from scratch basically because there's so many mistruths and so much misinformation out there. So what I've done as a researcher is really just gone back and looked at what does a cell need and rebuilt your entire system from the cell up. Okay. So the first thing that we need, let's look at what you do as a vehicle, what you do, what your major functions are. So your major function is to produce energy. That's the biggest thing that we do. The second biggest thing that we do is defend ourselves. Okay, so understanding our immune system and understanding how to work our immune system is super important in getting you to defend yourself. If you can't defend yourself, you're just going to be constantly infected with stuff, and we're going to be constantly trying to remove and address those infections. So, job number one is to teach you how to defend yourself. Then, past that, is to understand what you might be infected with, and let's start picking those guys off, and then let's start optimizing everything inside of you. So, there's no question that you should be able to defend yourself from anything on the earth, anything, any kind of bug, bacteria, virus, pathogen, anything. You should be able to defend yourself against that. The fact that we can't right now tells us that we just don't understand this well enough. And so that is my job as a researcher to try to understand this better and then teach and communicate that back to you guys so you can apply that in your practices.
Very good. Thank you, Chip.
You're
And
welcome.
so, yeah, and the reason we're really harping on this infection is because it leads to very scary things. And so if we do not if we don't identify the root cause, and if the root cause is H. pylori, then women do have a higher risk of breast cancer. And so that's why we are really harping on understanding the root cause. And we have several women that we're working with now that are going through breast cancer, and one in particular that is about to start chemotherapy. And so, what we do for them is we really get their body ready for chemotherapy. And then after, during and after, we also help them with immune health, getting their gut health back. And it's a long journey, but this is one of the scarier ones. And Chip, I'd like you to kind of touch on some of the ladies that we're working with and what you're seeing as far as the H. pylori and the breast cancer risk?
Yeah, so H. pylori, and then there's other bugs that will do this. So H. pylori, and if you have an overgrowth of something called Lactobacillus acidophilus, that'll really push you into estrogen dominance. So what that means is that your estrogen is being recycled and that hormones like testosterone are being converted to estrogen. So you're just getting a ton of estrogen. Now, breast cancer, at least hormone estrogen driven breast cancer, is caused by the overexpression of an enzyme called CYP1B1. And if that enzyme overexpresses, what he's going to do is he's going to convert a certain amount of estrogen to this bad guy, a bad metabolite. And it's not every single time, but it's with a certain probability and percentage. So the more of these guys that you have expressed and the more estrogen that you have coming in, it greatly increases your risk for something like breast cancer. So what we want to do is we want your estrogen in normal range. We want your estrogen to stay in normal range, and we want to cut down on the expression of these CYP1B1 enzymes and cut that back. So H. pylori will cause an increase in 1B1. BPA plastics will cause an increase in 1B1. So there's a lot of things in the environment that will cause those to increase, but pylori definitely does. So if you have H. pylori, you've got two factors working against you toward cancer, and that is that H. pylori is causing an estrogen dominance, and that H. pylori is also causing more expressions of CYP1B1.
Yep, that's very scientific. I just want to add to what you were saying about the plastics. And I'm trying to look this up to get the technical term, but one of the most dangerous plastics out there is black plastic. And if you look at all the food prep people, put everything in black plastic. And if you go buy like the chicken from Walmart or even Crest, that rotisserie chicken, it's stored in black plastic. It's just being infused with all of this BPA and everything that is causing hormonal disruptions. And don't get me started on Glade plugins and things like that. Just stay away from all that stuff. Just don't disrupt your hormones. Okay, so there are a lot of natural tools that work, and this is what we have been building for the last 10 years is understanding the problem and then building something to attack that problem naturally. We always do everything natural, organic, and safe. And so we've built some products under our brand called True Medics. And as we mentioned earlier in the presentation, gut infections are a high priority in our world. We think that if we can attack and keep that gut healthy, 70% of your immune system lives in your gut. So if your gut is unhealthy, you are always going to have immune issues. You're going to have autoimmunes. You're going to have digestive disorders. You're going to be more prone to dysregulation, viruses, etc. The list goes on. And so Gut Harmony Bundles is a really great place to start. And then we've added to that. So our metabolic drops are new, but that's a really great product to help women to kind of get more balanced, and then digest powder to help them digest their food easier, because with these infections, we get scarring in our gut, in the lining of our gut, and we get leaky gut. And so that really makes it difficult to absorb all these nutrients like B12 and iron and all of these things that we need to run our bodies. And so then, how do we know that we're making a difference? And so that's why we have bioresonance to help us monitor our clients. We'll scan them every week if we have to, just to make sure that we are making progress with what our strategies that we put them on. And then we'll partner with Connie Street to send them over to her to test their hormones. And so there's a lot of things that we can do to make sure that we are being effective in our strategies. And Chip, would you like to touch on your products that you've developed, the Gut Harmony Bundle, the Metabolic Balance, and the Digest Powder with Multi-Amido? Because I think it's really important for people to understand how you really think people should be using these products.
Yeah, so these products are built from a significant amount of experience and a significant amount of knowledge. I mean, humbly said, I am a researcher in this field. I'm top 5 in the world in what I do. I just wrote a paper with the world expert on dietary fats that we submitted to RFK Jr. So I do have some advanced knowledge here. So I'm putting and applying that advanced knowledge into the products that we make. But these bundles are really important and they're intelligently designed. So let's start, I guess, with the digest powder. So one of the things that we found is one of the problems that we all have is we're not generating enough stomach acid, and that's part of why we're not defending ourselves properly. So in order for you to properly defend yourself, in order for you to keep these infections from happening and properly disinfect your gut and your upper GI, you have to have enough stomach acid. Now, if you have something like H. pylori, this is going to hurt. When you get your stomach acid up, it's going to burn. It's going to be like pouring battery acid into an open wound. Okay. And so we've got things that will help with that. So if you have that issue, it's a special product, but we've got things that will help with that. And that happens in maybe 5% of the people that we work with. But generally, everybody needs to get their stomach acid up. Everybody, I don't care if you're sick or not, everybody needs to get their stomach acid up. In cultures that live a long time, this is part of their culture. They take bitters to get their stomach acid up before they eat anything. And we've
Mhm.
lost this. We've lost this for whatever reason. But again, our digest powder will help. It's bitters. It basically gets your stomach acid up and it gets your bile going. And you take it about 30 minutes before you eat. But that also, what that does is it disinfects your upper GI and it disinfects your duodenum and your small intestine, a bunch of areas that kind of need to get hit, let's say, with stomach acid. So that's super important. Our our metabolic balance drops are at some specific things. They're at lactobacillus acidophilus overgrowth. And this happens in a lot of people. And again, we're contributing to this. Every time you eat a piece of bread, you're contributing to a lactobacillus acidophilus overgrowth. Every time you eat a piece of broccoli, you're contributing to this overgrowth. Every time you eat sugar or processed food, you're definitely contributing to this overgrowth. And every time, sadly, you take a probiotic, you're throwing gasoline on this fire if you've got a lactobacillus acidophilus overgrowth. Now, what can this cause? Obesity, type 2 diabetes. If you've got that last, 10 or 15 pounds that you can never lose, this is why you've got a lactobacillus acidophilus overgrowth. So our metabolic balance is designed at that problem. And again, if you're somebody who, let's say, wants to lose weight, the digest powder, our multivitamin, and our mitochondrial balance and our mito products are super good at helping you lose weight. We've designed basically products that we know are at these underlying problems that cause disease, cause overweight, cause type 2 diabetes, or the cause of these diseases. So we're going at the root cause and we're manipulating the root cause with our product.
Yeah, and that's the key here is get to the root, right? And don't just manage symptoms.
Yep.
And so for a lot of people, where do you start? Well, we like to say start at Neighborly Wellness with a bioresonance so that we can get a good scan and understand what internally is going on. We don't like to guess, we like to test first. And I'm sure Connie can speak to that too. She's not going to manage your hormones until she tests them first. And so it's really vital that we understand where you are at so that we know where to meet you in the middle and help you get to your goal, losing weight, feeling better, getting more energy, whatever the goal is. First, we need to get that baseline of understanding where you're at. And so, starting with a scan with Chip is a good place to go. If you have every symptom we've talked about on here and you can't get here for a scan, our Gut Harmony bundles are a really great place to also start. And we've built 3. So depending on what you're going through, you will be able to self-identify which bundle would be more particular to your needs. And if you want to talk to us, we'll happily get on a phone call and help guide you from there. And then if you do feel like you have hormone dysregulation, I would consider going to Self Care University with Connie and getting a hormone Dutch test. I believe it's a Dutch test. And that is a very good test. It will give us back a lot of information. And we could use that hormone test with your bioresonance scan to really help you understand internally what's going on and the best way to attack it. Because everybody is different. Nobody is cookie cutter. We can't treat every single person this. We don't treat, cure, or any of that, but we can't um, guide every single person the same as anyone else. And so if you scan this QR code, down here at the bottom, that will take you to our links where you can subscribe to our podcast, book a bioresonance, buy some TrueMedX, whatever you would like to do, that's a good place to start right there. Chip, do you have anything to add to this slide?
There is, let's say you're listening in Texas or somewhere, right? You can't get to Edmond, you can't, come in for a scan. Can we do things with tests? Yes. If you call Connie, if you get your Dutch test, get your hormone test, we can tell a lot just from a hormone test. I can tell a lot from a blood test. I can't always kind of get to the bottom of things, but we can tell a lot from a hormone test. We can tell a lot from a gut ID test, from really any test you might have. And usually in a consultation, we can kind of get to the bottom of things. It's better if we have data, but we can always make a stab at things with a consultation. So don't feel like you can't benefit from what we have if you're not in Oklahoma. We can definitely help you no matter what. So.
Yeah, yeah. And we do have some bioresonance partners in Grand Prairie, Texas. We're establishing bioresonance partners in Vegas and Nebraska and hopefully Alabama. And so there's a lot of discussions that need to be had, but we really want everybody to be able to benefit from this service. And so our last slide, our final thoughts. Chip likes to tell people you're not broken. You're just dysregulated. We're just blocked. We just need to understand what is that blockage. And then we can help you kind of get back to feeling better.
Yeah.
Parasite. Oh, go ahead,
Sorry,
Chip.
sorry to interrupt you. I was just going to say in the medical system, and this is literally the way doctors are taught, but they kind of project this onto you, and we've all kind of thought this way. I've definitely thought this way, but if there's
Mhm.
something wrong with you, it's your fault. It's your body is just, I'm sorry, you just got dealt a bad hand genetically. Oh, you don't have the MTHFR gene. Oh no, genetically you've been dealt a bad hand. It doesn't work that way. And doctors are trained to think that way. You have high AST, ALT on a test. Well, sorry, your liver's breaking. You just got genetically dealt a bad hand, and here's your steroids or hormones to, further break your liver, right? And that thinking is just wrong. It's just wrong. God is a perfect you don't make bad cells. Everything in you turns over every 7 to 10 years. If we had all this figured out within 7 to 10 years, you would turn over and look like you're 30 again. Okay. So, and that's possible with the science that we have. That's possible in our world. Everything builds anew in you again every 7 to 10 years, and you make perfect cells. So if you're not perfect, then something is going on. Something is affecting your perfect cells. So that is the way we need to be thinking about ourselves, not, oh, I'm sorry, you're broken, deficient, genetically screwed up. It just doesn't work that way.
Nope, we are built to heal. And, ancient civilizations lived a lot longer than we did. And so, like Chip is his last podcast, the Egyptians, they all look like they died at 30, but maybe they were 1,000 years old, and that's what they look like when they died at 1,000, kind of aged at 30. So, there's a lot that we don't understand in our history. And so I wish we knew more about that. But if we find the root cause, then we can usually get people back to feeling their best. And so Are there any questions? Oh,
Oh, do we have a hand up? No, we don't have a hand up. So there are some questions in
oh
the,
yeah, we've got some questions here.
I've
So,
answered a lot of them in there.
oh, you did?
Yeah.
Can we answer them live?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's answer them live. So that's a good idea. So, are there particular types of foods, herbs, or natural supplements that you recommend for supporting gut health and gently eliminating parasites? Yes, absolutely. But the problem is there's 4 different classifications of pathogens. So something could be a parasite, something could be a virus, something could be a bacteria, or something could be a virus. And each of those things requires a little bit different supplement package, let's say, to boost your immune system to be able to get rid of those guys. So, like for instance, parasites are really helped by things like black walnut seed hull, pumpkin seeds, wormwood, things like that. And those really help your body get rid of parasites. But on the other hand, if you've got something like H. pylori, it's going to be helped by mastic gum, berberine, other stuff. And if you've got a virus, it's going to be helped by our Calm product, which is our antiviral product. So again, it depends on what you're infected with, kind of the way that we would go about supplementing into that situation. So that's why it's so important as kind of that first question is to, what is infecting you? And then how does that guy hijack your hormone system or your immune system, and then can we get in there and rewire that where your immune system will kill that guy? So long answer, but that's what we do. How do parasites or sluggish gut systems affect hormone balance, especially for women in their 30s, 40s, and 50s? Hugely. You, again, don't have a hormone imbalance normally. Nobody does. Okay. So if you have some kind of hormone disbalance, there's some kind of infection at the root of that. And, if you've got an AI tool or Google or whatever, satisfy yourself to that. But that, I'm speaking truth there. You can't really be hormonally disrupted without some kind of insult. And that insult usually is an infection. Can you explain how your approach differs from conventional treatments, especially for someone looking to avoid harsh medications or antibiotics? Yeah, we don't use harsh medications or antibiotics. We use God's system, which is nature. So we're always going to go to nature and God's system to find solutions. And guess what? God is very robust in the system that he built us. And there is not one thing that exists in you that I cannot basically boost your immune system to kill with something from nature. Okay. So there's always an app for anything that might be going on with you, and it exists in nature. Even these really horrible, oh my gosh, he has a MRSA infection. MRSA, no, good God, not MRSA. CBG from a non-psychoactive thing from cannabis just kills MRSA like crazy. Okay. So there's always something that will kill anything that you have inside of you, regardless of how horrible the medical system or the narrative has made it sound. Do we offer any at-home test kits or consultations? We definitely, as long as you have some data, we can usually get to the bottom of what's going on with you in a consult. So that's what we do offer for people who are, let's say, outside of our area, is a consult. If you're in our area, we're going to recommend, or can get to a place where we're having a remote clinic, we're going to recommend that we actually scan you. That's the best way to do things. That's the most robust way. And we get the most information. I get thousands of data points when I scan you. I have to use AI really to evaluate all those data points, but it creates a very robust situation. It never knows your name, by the way. I never tell it your name, but it can create this profile on you, which is really cool. I think I answered this, but if you're struggling with bloating or cravings or irregular digestion, you definitely are infected with something, and that's most likely a lactobacillus acidophilus overgrowth, but it could be other things like H. pylori. And again, it's important to get scanned if you've got that going on, because you've definitely got something going on. How often do you see hormone issues like fatigue, mood swing, or irregular cycles linked back to the gutter parasite? Always. Always, always. These guys cannot infect you without disrupting your hormone environment in their little microsystem. They have to have to disrupt that hormone environment in order to stay alive. So you're always going to see some hormone issue associated with infection. Do you include parasite cleanses or gut reset protocols as part of your overall hormone healing or weight loss programs? Yes, again, it parasites and not just parasites. The whole class of everything is called pathogens. Parasites are a class of pathogens. Funguses are a class of pathogens. Bacteria is a class of pathogens. Viruses are a class of pathogens. So pathogens we see as important to kill in order to reset you. Now, gut cleanses are really interesting. Again, there's some horrible gut cleanses out there. It depends on what you're trying to kill, the type of gut cleanse you would need. So that's why it's important always to kind of get a consultation or at least have a conversation about what might be going on with you. And then Connie asks, what are your top three go-tos for supplements or natural tools for gut repair? And I kind of answer that in here, but our deworm tablets are for the parasites, the Helmus. Our gut restore products work for bacteria. And they also work for funguses. And then we've got a product called Calm that we use for viruses. But we have to really kind of know or get an inkling of if it's a virus, parasite, fungus, or bacteria. If someone is interested in working with you, what's the best first step? So the best first step is just to call us, book a consult or book a screen with us, or find out where we're doing our remote clinic and come see us at a remote clinic.
Or if it's a business, a one-to-one, because we're always looking for partners to pop up more mobile clinics so that we can help more people.
Yeah, and we are always, as Cindy said, we're always looking to kind of spread our wings out, further out into Oklahoma, and we're looking for partners to help us do that. So if you want to sponsor a remote clinic, we do have some requirements, but if you want to sponsor a remote clinic, then we'd love to have you do that. Love,
And
love,
it's not, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to correct you, but it's not a
yeah,
sponsorship, it's a host. So
yeah,
if somebody wants to host the clinic, because we actually give back part of the proceeds to the host.
yeah. Well said. I intimated the wrong thing
It's
there.
okay. Sponsorship indicates having to pay up
Yeah, no,
front.
nobody,
I had
nobody
to
has to.
clarify that.
Yeah, we actually pay you, so it's
We
a
pay you. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this is great information. Great to know what we need to be on the lookout for. Black plastics. Yes, as Cindy said, those are everywhere in food services, and those are horrible. There's a rating on plastic. If you look at at the bottom of a plastic bottle, it'll have some codes on it, and you can look those codes up to see if it has BPA in it or not. But the big thing is you want to stay away from BPA. It's the big bad thing. People are walking around with fatigue, and this needs to be looked into. Completely agree. If you are, let's say, in a after fight or flight situation, so you've been chased by a bear, you thought you were going to be eaten, and now the bear's gone, and you've had a chance to relax a little bit, and you have that woo, that fight or flight crash. Yeah, a lot of us are literally walking around with that every single day because the bugs mess with cortisol and they cause that to happen because it favors them. So if you're fatigued, again, God is a perfect engineer. That is not normal. There's something going on that's causing that fatigue. Acid reducer meds are definitely comorbid with many types of stomach and gut cancers. If you have H. pylori and you're taking a proton pump inhibitor, and good Lord, I know why, because it gives you some relief. But if you're taking that proton pump inhibitor, you are greatly, greatly increasing your risk for cancer, greatly increasing your risk for cancer. And we just had a friend die Friday of an H. pylori driven cancer. That we just kind of got to too late. And so it's this people die of this all the time. And it's if you have pancreatic cancer, it's tough to treat, tough to bring you back from that.
Yeah, and that's, the antacids are one of the most dangerous things that doctors prescribe and recommend. And there are literally so many class action suits against antacids, like Zantac for one. These companies are causing people to cover up the problem, and it just exacerbates. And when you cover up the problem, it can turn to cancer. And so this is a very serious thing that everybody needs to really look at and understand if they are taking antacids, they need a bioresonance.
Yeah, and if you're to the point where you're having to take a proton pump inhibitor, you're close to cancer. I mean, you
Yep.
are damn close to cancer, okay? So if you have that burning that bad, you're on the edge, and it would behoove you to get in here or, talk to us or talk to Connie. Okay, so new question: with the growing popularity of GLP-1 medications for weight loss, what effects are you seeing on the gut and digestive systems in your practice? And from a natural supportive care standpoint, how are you helping clients manage or heal these issues? Well, first of all, I would just strongly recommend that you stay away from GLP-1 medications. This is it's a jumping of your system that is dangerous. It can cause all kinds of unintended consequences. Now let's back up for a second. So if you're overweight and you've tried everything, right? You've tried dieting, you've tried intermittent fasting, you've tried all different kinds of things and you can't lose weight. Again, that's not a normal situation, and it means you're infected with something. You're infected with something that is causing you to not understand satiety in your body and to lose those signals and basically to store fat like crazy. So, is it your fault because you eat bad? Well, maybe, kind of, but it's not totally your fault. You're infected with something. And that infection will control your cravings. It will control your craving for sugar. It will control your craving for carbohydrates. So, again, if you're overweight, that's not normal. And we should evaluate that in the same way that we would if you have cancer. There's something going on there that we need to get to the bottom of. There's a causal factor. And all of us have been trained into this kind of one pill, fixes everything. So, oh, I'm sick. I'm going to go to the doctor. The doctor will give me a pill or an injection, and then I'll be better. And we've got to get out of that thinking, especially with these GLP-1s. They'll cause you to go blind. I mean, they'll completely wreck your gut. These are not helpful things. They may cause you to lose a little bit of weight, but the unintended consequence is just insane. Okay, so new question. How do you suggest we speak with our medical providers to be open to your natural treatments for a loved one who is in the hospital or nursing home? Oh, good Lord. Okay, so if someone is under medical supervision, um, they're not going to be open to likely the professional medical is not going to be open to this thinking, to these treatments. And I'll give you an example from my experience, and hopefully through this example, I'll be able to kind of answer this question more deeply. But we had a very good friend whose dad was had repeated kidney infections. He was on the edge of, let's say, diabetes, and he was continually getting kidney infections and kind of getting sick and everything. Well, they send me and he goes into this latest round. He's so bad that he has to go into the emergency room. So they send me all his charts at this point. So I get all his charts. I can see from his just blood tests that he's got high white blood cell counts, which means that he's infected with something. Again, your white blood cell counts don't get high unless you're infected. So I know he's infected with something, and I can tell it's likely some kind of bacteria just by what his white blood cell counts are doing. I look at his chart a little deeper, and it turns out he's had an enterococcus bacterial infection, and that they've treated that with antibiotics. But it seems to happen every single time he goes in for any kind of evaluations. So he goes into the emergency room. They look at him. They go, "Oh my gosh, you need to be on dialysis because your kidneys are failing." And so they put him on dialysis. Well, what does dialysis do? It cleans your blood, right? And what does that blood have in it? It's got immune mediators that have been saving this guy's life, that have been fighting the enterococcus, that have been keeping him alive. So, guess what happens when you clean out all those immune mediators? Guess what the bacteria does? It goes crazy. So, this guy immediately went into kidney failure. He went into intensive care because of this enterococcus infection. So this was the situation where I picked it up. So again, I have a conversation with his attending physician, and I'm just trying to get him anything that I know will kill that enterococcus. So I said, "Doc, do you have ivermectin in your hospital formulary?" "No, we don't Well, why? First of all, has he been to a third world country? Has he rolled around in poo? Has he skipped barefoot through some cow manure field? No. Again, he's likely got it's in your chart. He's got Enterococcus. He's had it for a long time. It's bacterially resistant. You're not killing it with antibiotics. Do you have ivermectin? No, we don't have ivermectin. We don't carry it in our formulary. Well, right off the bat, gee, why not? It won a Nobel Peace Prize, for God's sake, with its work in humans. So then I'm like, well, can we get him a natural product? I don't know. You'll have to talk to the pharmacist. So I get on the phone with the pharmacist and I say, well, I'm just looking right here in every source of information that I can see, and I see that garlic kills Enterococcus better than anything on the planet, better than any pharmaceutical drug that you have. Can we get this man some garlic? No. Why not? Pharmacist, it's not in our formulary. We don't have any natural products in our formulary. Oh, really? Do you have vitamin D in your formulary? Yes, we have vitamin D in our formulary. Is vitamin D a natural product? Yes, vitamin D is. Okay. Well, if I have the family bring in some garlic, will you approve it for his use? Well, I don't know. We have to talk to the chief medical, doctor. So then we get on the phone with the chief medical doctor. And the chief medical doctor, again, I have to embarrass him in front of the family with his own medical charts. And did we finally get this guy some garlic? Yeah, but it was too late. So that's what happens with professional medical. Now, in their defense, if you go in, let's say you have cancer and you go into your oncologist and you say, Doc, I want to use cannabis or natural products as a defense against cancer. Can you help me? He's going to say no, because if he helps you, he is committing malpractice. He is an expert in cancer. He is not an expert in natural products. He is not an expert in herbs. He is not an expert in infectious disease. And if he counsels you in those areas, he's committing malpractice. Okay. So doctors are in a box. Cindy came up with that term, which I really like, but doctors are in a box. So you can't really fault them for their box, but you have to understand the box that they're in and that they're not going to give you factual, truthful, the depth of information that you really need. All righty. So that looks like the end of the questions. If you have a question, raise your hand or far away, and I will happily try to answer it. And agree.
Okay.
So Connie's saying science-backed is so important, and it is. And again, will this change? So this is an important question. I think, will this change? Well, yeah, we're in the process of changing this right now. And professional medical, we're not moving toward professional medical. I mean, I'm moving toward professional medical in data, in exactly what Connie's talking about, in science-backed.
Uh-oh. Science backed. Science backed data is
All right. Can anybody still hear the live? It's almost noon. All right. So I know they're going to hop back on, but I'm the one who made the post about science-backed data. I think it's so important that whenever I'll let them back in as soon as they can come in. Good job. I think it's so important for science-backed data to be whenever you're wanting to speak to a provider. I think it's so important for them to know that you're understanding that you're not trying to insult their intelligence. You're actually just trying to let them know that you agree with them in that this is science, this is proven, this is it's agreed upon by so many. I know that there are most supplements aren't FDA approved, so therefore a medical provider may kind of shy away from natural supplements, but if you can use the science-backed terms, those are super, super important. And I know that Chip and Cindy would agree. And as soon as they can get back on, I know that they would love to chomp on that a little bit too. So um, I will say that I'm super grateful for them to talk about Self Care University OK, which is the name of my business. I did not ask them to represent or speak about my business, but I do appreciate with collaboration. I do appreciate with collaborating with natural practitioners who do also their research. I love being a research nurse. In fact, I call myself a research nurse. I have been since 2018. And so I really appreciate knowing that just because someone gives a prescription or just because someone gives a suggestion, if you're someone who knows and trusts your practitioner, then I understand. But if you're not getting the answers that you need, if you're not getting the help that you need, if you're not getting the relief that you need, then sometimes the synthetic should be looked at, and maybe a natural option could be discussed with your provider. So I do appreciate talking to Chip and Cindy, because whenever I have my clients that I want to collaborate with them for GI concerns, I think it's so fantastic because there's already a trust there. I do agree that their products, I just want to make sure that's not them trying to get back in. And that's all right. That's okay if it's them trying to get back in. Um, so when you have medical providers, okay, I'm just letting you know we're still on. So I appreciate whenever we can all have a good, wonderful adult conversation, because the way that you're feeling, I do agree with Chip. I agree with Cindy as well. Something's going on and there is a reason for it, but what is it? I have done the testing that Chip and Cindy talk about. I think it's wonderful. I think it's very comprehensive, and that is really wise. Also, when I do my Dutch testing, I on my end do as I'm an RN. Okay. Um, Restart your computer. It's okay. See, y'all, we just when we can all use comprehensive data, I think that's fantastic, because whenever you are wanting to test something specifically, that's great. But if you can do a complex test, you may actually find that it was this, and this. But if you only did one target test, then you really could have some other things that were left off the table that could have been part of your discussion and part of your health journey. Another thing that I appreciate, I did ask them to restart their computer and to just try getting back in. It's August, y'all. Everybody's going to be getting back on the internet and everybody's going to be learning and be ready to go. So if you all do have any questions, if you have any questions for me as well, this is not my webinar, but until they can get back on, I don't mind answering some questions. I won't answer them on their behalf because that's their business and their practice. But working with them, I really felt like it was non-invasive, which is great. I think just like my testing, it's not invasive as far as like it's not painful. There we go. Let's get Chip back in here. You're actually able to get the answers that you need, and that's what's super important. And then yeah, the other thing is what information do you get from those tests? Hey, Cindy, how are
So
you?
sorry, my internet is not working well today, but I finally got back on. So I see that we have Stacy, Carrie, and Cheryl. Thank you, ladies, for joining. Really appreciate you taking the time.
So one thing I was talking about while you all took a break was how I didn't speak on your behalf, but I did do one of your tests, but I talked about how comprehensive it is. And I appreciate the comprehensive because whenever you see some providers, they just like to do just one targeted test when you could actually have other things that aren't caught or captured, whereas they are whenever you do a comprehensive test. And I think that that is also where they can say, okay, now I'm seeing a pattern here. And that really helps direct the focus of care instead of it being like, oh, well, you just have this, so we're just going to treat that. Well, you're really missing out on getting to feel better because there could be other two or three other issues going on that really needed to be treated. What are your thoughts?
Yes, and building that baseline, getting that first scan is very important because as we start to attack the problem or give guidance and they're changing diet or behavior, we want to make sure that that is an effective strategy. So bringing them back in within a week or after a month, just to get another scan to see what the results are now compared to where they were, that helps us really understand if we're on the right path. And if we're not, then we will strategize and just develop a new path. But the key is to get to the root and to finally get to a solution that works for the person. And it's very personalized. And like I mentioned earlier, nobody is cookie cutter. If they were, that would make our job so much easier. But because everybody is so different, they require different different supplements, and some require more scans over others. Like, people going through something as severe as cancer, we want to really stay on top of what we're doing for them to make sure that we are being effective and not going the wrong way.
It can actually save time and tissue
Yeah.
whenever you are getting on top of things like that. Because, for one, no one wants to be sick, no one wants to feel good, and they all want answers. But what can also be a little bit complex is that they want it to work really fast. So, can you talk a little bit about?
Mhm.
Um, you said you do your testing and you do a repeat testing, which, let's just be honest, in the insurance world, your practitioner would also do that as well. So that's not out of the normal. So how not how soon, but what's a good timeline that you want to start to see the pendulum swing towards them getting better, and then it's time for testing.
Really, after 3 months, if it's something severe, but if it's not as severe, if we're really just managing kind of that gut health, 6 months. So, once a year, come in for the bioresonance, let us build that baseline, and then another 6 months, let's do a scan, make sure we are effective. But if we're really trying to make change and fix something, then every 3 months. So that would just
What
be
are your
twice a year.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on if you have someone who's like a world traveler? And I know you probably got to go because we have 2 more minutes. If someone's a world traveler and they travel a lot and they're around different foods, different things, whether they go to Hong Kong and then they go to Mexico, do you recommend that they get checked a bit more often or
So
something?
that's a tough one because when you leave your environment, you are so susceptible to everything around you. And it enters our respiratory system. We can absorb things through our skin. So changing our environment really makes our immune system have to work harder. So we can do that scan before, but we're going to have to rescan you as soon as you get back because you're going to come back and those results will be incredibly different because your immune system is going to be fighting things that we weren't fighting in your environment. And so, if you have a compromised immune system, we really advise you to build that immune health before you get into those situations. And we've got strategies to help somebody do that, kind of build that layer of defense while they're on the airplane or train or in a big crowd. That way, their immune system is a little bit more protected. We built something called Defend. It's a natural product that it helps to block viruses at your ACE2 neuroreceptor. So it's a very targeted product, and that's how COVID gets on us too. So we built that product to go to help people get through flu season easier. But what we discovered is it also helped people get through COVID pandemics too.
Oh, can they also take this as a preventative?
They can. So we always recommend somebody get a bottle of Defend before they travel anywhere, and Gut Restore too, because you can defend your immune system and then defend your gut too, which is how a lot of things get into us.
Very nice. All right, so we've reached the end of our time. Do you have any last closing thoughts?
No, just if you are dealing with gut hormone, any kind of imbalance, it really is important that you understand what your challenge is. And the medical system does not test for parasites or H. pylori effectively. And these things can hide with biofilms and in the lining of your gut. And bioresonance is one of our best strategies at helping you uncover what the root cause is, to help you get back to life.
When you all took your break, I was also talking about how it's not invasive. How, like, a lot of times people go, "Oh
Mhm.
my gosh, well, are you gonna have to go in and test my stool?" And, "Oh, what are," how invasive is it? Because usually people don't understand like what a treatment would be like. So I was
Mhm.
telling them that it's actually very nice. It's very relaxing. It was not invasive at all, and it was actually very informative as well.
Yeah, and it's completely safe. So we test, 2-year-olds. We even test animals. So we've got programs to help us test our animals too, because they can't tell us what's going on inside of them, right? And so it's just a really great tool. It's not FDA approved. It's not invasive. It will not diagnose, treat, or cure, but we use it as a research tool to help us uncover what's going on inside of you.
Very nice. Well, Self Care University OK thanks you all so much for doing this webinar. Can you please let people know how they can reach you to get a copy of today's webinar? Because I'm sure they would love to share it maybe with their practitioner or with their friends. How can they reach you?
You can email me at cindy@neighborlywellness.com, or you can call me 918-706-3947, or you can visit our website at neighborlywellness.com. And so I've got lots of ways for you to contact me, and I put my cell phone out there, so you can get me directly. Anytime you call Neighborly, True Medics, or Chip Talks, you will get me.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you all so much. I know this has been very informative. So, gut health is so important because, like they said, it is like the second brain. If you want to feel good, look good. Didn't you mention Fountain of Youth? I'm going to hold them to that.
Uh-huh. Anti-aging, get your gut right, and you can slow down the aging.
All righty. Well, I'm going to go ahead and stop this recording, and you all have a fantastic day.
Bye, everyone.